I'd like to tell you what happened at the Refugee Highway Partnership in Budapest 2 years ago. We, again, it was closer to the very difficult, the big wave, and Hungary was in a process of closing the border. They had already closed the border, and so it was very controversial. And what we did in Budapest is we asked all of the conference goers to take a tour and pray for the whole city of Budapest, pray for the government. And then we visited the synagogue where, following the war, 440,000 Jews were killed as a result of that genocide. And so we had a time of prayer for the healing, because we have many Germans in our group, and for them it was still a shame that their own people treated the Jews so horribly. And now we are in this was in 2017, we realized that we are at a crossroads again in Europe. How are we going to respond to over 1 million people who have been forced out of their homes? What is, historically, where are we going to land in history? And so this is the story I'd like to share. The last night we did a communion. And in the communion we had a pastor from Iraq help share the word. And before he shared, we had a Jewish woman who had become a Christian share her heart. And she says, I know all of you have a heart for refugees. Many of them are Muslim, but I would ask for you to pray for the Jewish people, because we need hope. And you visited the synagogue. I want you to keep us in your heart. And so what happened that night was that this Arab pastor, he led out in prayer for the Jewish people in Arabic, words of blessing, words of peace, words of reconciliation. And then the German leader stood up and he prayed a prayer of confession and of humility. And we had Hungarians praying for it was a time of healing. It was a time of, it was a communion, the Lord's Supper, that I will never forget. Because we had people that normally don't get along, normally who are enemies, sharing the table. And the idea, what one person said, I'll never forget, is that Christianity, the answer to the refugee situation is not to build more walls, but to make a bigger table. We need to widen and invite the table of hospitality and grace. And that means extending hospitality even to those who were our enemies. So we're at a crossroads, and I believe that this network it's doing a small part of changing people's hearts, of changing church leaders, changing refugees' hearts. But if we can widen the table and make the table even, then I think God will be glorified.